Obstacles also build resilience. Each time you face difficulty and push through it, you expand your capacity to handle future challenges. What once seemed overwhelming gradually becomes manageable. This doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of repeated exposure to adversity and the decision to keep moving forward. Over time, you develop a kind of mental toughness that allows you to stay steady even when circumstances are unpredictable. Failure is one of the most common forms of obstacles, and it often carries a heavy emotional weight. Many people associate failure with inadequacy or defeat, which makes them avoid risks altogether. But failure is not the opposite of success. It's a component of it. Every failed attempt provides feedback. It shows you what doesn't work and points you toward what might. When you treat failure as information rather than judgment, it becomes a valuable tool for improvement. Adaptation plays a crucial role in this process. When faced with an obstacle, the initial plan may no longer be effective. Instead of stubbornly sticking to it, you adjust. You experiment with new approaches, refine your strategy, and stay flexible. This willingness to adapt keeps you moving forward even when conditions change. It prevents you from getting stuck and allows you to find alternative paths to your goal. Obstacles also reveal character. It's easy to stay positive and confident when everything is going well, but true strength shows itself in difficult moments. How you respond under pressure defines your mindset. Do you give in to frustration, or do you stay focused? Do you quit, or do you persist? Each obstacle becomes a test, and each response shapes your identity. Over time, consistently choosing growth over avoidance builds a strong, resilient character. Another layer of growth comes from the skills you develop while overcoming challenges. Obstacles often require you to learn something new, whether it's a practical skill, a new way of thinking, or a deeper level of patience. These skills don't just help you overcome the current difficulty, they prepare you for future ones. In this way, every obstacle adds to your toolkit, making you more capable and resourceful. Emotional strength is also refined through this process. Facing obstacles can trigger fear, doubt, and frustration. Instead of suppressing these emotions, you learn to work through them. You acknowledge their presence without letting them dictate your actions. This builds emotional stability. You become less reactive and more composed even in high-pressure situations. Persistence is another critical element. Turning obstacles into opportunities requires sustained effort. It's not enough to try once and give up when it doesn't work. Growth often happens through repeated attempts, adjustments, and continuous effort. Each attempt brings you closer to a solution, even if it doesn't succeed immediately. This persistence creates momentum, and over time, that momentum leads to breakthroughs. Obstacles can also shift your priorities and perspective on life. When you face challenges, you are forced to evaluate what truly matters. You begin to distinguish between what is essential and what is trivial. This clarity can lead to more focused decisions and a stronger sense of purpose. Difficult experiences often strip away distractions and bring your attention to what is genuinely important. Another powerful aspect is confidence. Every time you overcome an obstacle, you prove to yourself that you are capable. This builds self-trust. You start to believe that no matter what challenges arise, you can handle them. This confidence is not based on external validation. It's built through experience. It becomes a quiet, steady belief in your own ability to adapt and grow. Obstacles also encourage creativity. When the usual methods don't work, you are forced to think outside the box. This leads to innovative solutions and new perspectives. Creativity thrives under constraint, and obstacles provide exactly that. They push you to explore possibilities you might not have considered otherwise. The process of turning obstacles into opportunities is not always immediate. Sometimes the value of a challenge is only clear in hindsight. What feels like a setback in the moment can later reveal itself as a turning point. This understanding reinforces the mindset that every experience, no matter how difficult, has the potential to contribute to your growth. Over time, this approach changes your relationship with challenges entirely. Instead of fearing obstacles, you begin to welcome them. You see them as chances to improve, to learn, and to evolve. This doesn't mean you seek out difficulty for its own sake, but you no longer avoid it when it appears. You engage with it, knowing that on the other side of every obstacle lies a stronger version of yourself. Mastering your mind before trying to conquer anything else is at the core of Bruce Lee's philosophy. He believed that external victories mean very little if your internal world is chaotic, undisciplined, or controlled by fear. Most people spend their lives trying to change circumstances, control outcomes, or dominate challenges, but they overlook the one thing that shapes all of it: their own mind. Without control over your thoughts, emotions, and reactions, even the greatest opportunities can slip through your hands. The mind is the command center of everything you do. Every action begins as a thought, every decision is filtered through perception, and every result is influenced by your mental state. If your thinking is scattered, negative, or reactive, your actions will reflect that. You might have talent, resources, or opportunities, but without mental discipline, those advantages lose their power. Mastery of the mind ensures that everything you do is intentional rather than impulsive. One of the first steps in mastering your mind is awareness. Most people operate on autopilot, reacting to situations without questioning their thoughts or emotional responses. They assume that what they think is automatically true, and what they feel must be acted upon. But awareness creates a gap between stimulus and response. In that gap, you gain the ability to choose. Instead of being controlled by anger, fear, or doubt, you observe them, understand them, and decide how to respond. This level of awareness requires honesty. You have to recognize your patterns, how you react under pressure, how you handle criticism, how you respond to failure. It's easy to ignore these patterns or blame external factors, but true mastery begins when you take responsibility for your inner state. When something goes wrong, instead of immediately pointing outward, you look inward and ask, "How did my thinking influence this?" That question alone shifts your focus from helplessness to control. Discipline is another essential component. The mind naturally seeks comfort, avoids difficulty, and drifts toward distraction. Without discipline, it becomes scattered and unfocused. Mastery means training your mind to stay aligned with your goals, even when it's uncomfortable. This could be as simple as maintaining focus during a task, resisting the urge to procrastinate, or choosing productive thoughts over negative ones. Over time, these small acts of discipline compound into a powerful sense of control. Controlling your thoughts doesn't mean suppressing them, it means directing them. Negative thoughts will appear, it's part of being human, but you don't have to give them power. When doubt arises, you acknowledge it without letting it define your actions. When fear shows up, you recognize it without allowing it to stop you. This ability to observe without being controlled is what separates a reactive mind from a disciplined one. Emotional regulation plays a crucial role in this process. Emotions are powerful, but they are not always accurate reflections of reality. Anger can distort your judgment, fear can exaggerate risks, and frustration can cloud your thinking. Mastering your mind means understanding that emotions are signals, not commands. You feel them fully, but you don't let them dictate your behavior. This allows you to respond with clarity rather than react impulsively. Another important aspect is focus. In a world filled with constant distractions, the ability to concentrate deeply has become rare. A scattered mind jumps from one thought to another, never fully engaging with anything. This weakens your ability to perform at a high level. Mastery involves training your attention like a muscle, bringing it back whenever it wanders and keeping it fixed on what truly matters. Over time, this creates a level of mental sharpness that gives you a significant advantage in any area of life. Beliefs also shape the way your mind operates. If you believe you are limited, incapable, or destined to fail, your actions will reflect those beliefs. On the other hand, if you cultivate empowering beliefs, you expand your potential. Mastering your mind involves questioning the beliefs you've accepted over time. Are they based on truth, or are they inherited from past experiences, failures, or external influences? By challenging and reshaping these beliefs, you change the foundation of your thinking. Silence and stillness are often overlooked, yet they are essential for mental mastery. When your mind is constantly filled with noise, thoughts, distractions, and external input, it becomes difficult to think clearly. Taking time to be still allows you to observe your thoughts without interference. This doesn't require anything complex. Even a few moments of quiet reflection can create clarity. In that stillness, you begin to understand your mind rather than be overwhelmed by it. Another layer of mastery is resilience. A trained mind doesn't collapse under pressure. It adapts, recalibrates, and continues forward. When faced with challenges, instead of immediately reacting with frustration or defeat, it remains steady. This stability comes from practice. Each time you face difficulty and choose a controlled response, you strengthen your mental resilience. Over time, what once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. Your inner dialogue is another critical factor. The way you speak to yourself shapes your mindset. Constant self-criticism, doubt, and negativity weaken your confidence and motivation. Mastering your mind means becoming aware of this internal voice and transforming it into something constructive. This doesn't mean ignoring mistakes. It means addressing them with clarity and purpose rather than harsh judgment. Visualization is also a powerful tool in this process. Before any action takes place, you can mentally rehearse it. By imagining yourself succeeding, overcoming obstacles, and performing at your best, you prepare your mind for real-world situations. This builds confidence and reduces hesitation. It aligns your mental state with your desired outcome, making your actions more effective. Mastery of the mind also involves detachment from outcomes. When you become overly attached to specific results, your thinking becomes rigid, and your emotions become volatile. You start to fear failure and overanalyze every step. By focusing on the process rather than the outcome, you maintain clarity and consistency. You give your best effort without being paralyzed by the need for a particular result. Consistency is what ties all of this together. Mastering your mind is not a one-time achievement. It's a continuous practice. Every day presents new challenges, distractions, and emotional triggers. Each moment is an opportunity to either reinforce control or fall back into old patterns. The more consistently you choose awareness, discipline, and focus, the stronger your mental foundation becomes. Over time, this mastery transforms how you experience life. Situations that once caused stress or hesitation no longer have the same effect. You respond with intention rather than impulse. You act with clarity rather than confusion. And most importantly, you realize that the greatest battle was never external, it was always within your own mind. Turning every obstacle into an opportunity for growth is one of the most powerful mental shifts inspired by Bruce Lee's philosophy. Most people naturally resist obstacles. They see them as interruptions, setbacks, or signs that something has gone wrong. This reaction is deeply ingrained. When things get difficult, the instinct is to avoid, complain, or retreat. But an unbreakable mind interprets obstacles differently. Instead of seeing them as barriers, it sees them as raw material for growth. Every obstacle carries information. It reveals weaknesses, exposes blind spots, and tests your limits. If everything in life were easy and predictable, there would be no need to improve. Growth only happens when you are pushed beyond your comfort zone. Obstacles create that pressure. They force you to think differently, act differently, and become stronger than you were before. Without them, progress would stall, and potential would remain unrealized. The key to transforming obstacles into opportunities begins with perspective. The situation itself is often neutral. It's your interpretation that gives it meaning. When you label something as a problem, your mind immediately looks for ways to escape it. When you label it as a challenge, your mind starts searching for solutions. This subtle shift changes your entire approach. Instead of feeling defeated, you become curious. You start asking questions like, what can I learn from this? Or, how can this make me better? This mindset doesn't eliminate difficulty, but it changes how you engage with it. Pain, frustration, and uncertainty are still present, but they no longer control you. Instead of resisting discomfort, you begin to accept it as part of the process. This acceptance removes a significant amount of mental resistance. When you stop fighting the fact that something is hard, you free up energy to actually deal with it effectively. Another important aspect is responsibility. It's easy to blame external circumstances when things go wrong, other people, bad luck, or unfavorable conditions. While these factors may play a role, focusing on them limits your ability to grow. Taking responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything. It means recognizing that your response is always within your control. By asking, "What can I do differently?" you shift from a passive mindset to an active one. What if everything you've been taught about mental strength is incomplete, or even wrong? Long before mindset became a trend, Bruce Lee was quietly forging a philosophy so powerful it could turn fear into fuel, pressure into precision, and doubt into unstoppable confidence. He didn't just train his body to move fast, he trained his mind to become unbreakable. These 11 rules aren't motivational cliches. They're raw, battle-tested principles that challenge how you think, how you react, and how you face the hardest moments of your life. Once you understand them, you won't see obstacles the same way again, and more importantly, they won't see you the same way either. The idea of being adaptable like water comes from Bruce Lee's most iconic philosophy. Be water, my friend. At first glance, it sounds simple, almost poetic, but beneath those few words lies a profound blueprint for developing an unbreakable mind. Water is one of the softest, most yielding elements in existence, yet over time it can carve through rock, reshape landscapes, and overcome the hardest obstacles. This paradox is exactly what makes adaptability such a powerful mental weapon. To be like water means to let go of rigid thinking. Most people approach life with fixed expectations, how things should go, how others should behave, how success should look. But reality rarely follows a script. When things don't go as planned, a rigid mind cracks under pressure, just like a solid object shatters when struck hard enough. Water, on the other hand, doesn't resist reality. It flows with it. When faced with a barrier, it doesn't panic or stop. It simply finds another path. Adaptability begins with awareness. You have to recognize when you are holding on to an idea, belief, or plan too tightly. The more attached you are to one specific outcome, the more fragile you become when that outcome changes. A flexible mind observes the situation as it is, not as it wishes it to be. It asks, "What is happening right now?" instead of, "Why isn't this going my way?" That shift alone transforms frustration into clarity. Being like water, also, means adjusting your approach without losing your purpose. Water doesn't forget where it's going. It just changes how it gets there. It can flow gently around obstacles or crash through them with force depending on what the situation demands. In life, this translates into knowing when to be patient and when to act decisively. Sometimes persistence means pushing forward. Other times it means stepping back and recalibrating. The strength lies not in stubbornness, but in the ability to choose the right response. A common misconception is that adaptability equals weakness or indecision. In reality, it requires immense control and confidence. It's easy to stick to one way of thinking because it feels safe and familiar. It's much harder to change course, to admit that something isn't working, and to pivot without losing momentum. That's what makes adaptability a sign of strength. It demands humility, awareness, and courage all at once. Emotional control is another core part of this principle. Water doesn't react emotionally. It responds naturally. When something disturbs it, the surface may ripple, but it eventually returns to stillness. An unbreakable mind works the same way. Challenges, criticism, and unexpected setbacks will create emotional waves, but they don't have to control your actions. Instead of reacting impulsively, you learn to pause, observe, and respond with intention. This prevents small problems from escalating into major setbacks. Adaptability also means being comfortable with uncertainty. Water doesn't need to know the entire path ahead. It simply moves forward, moment by moment. Many people struggle because they want guarantees before they act. They want to know that their efforts will pay off, that their decisions are the right ones. But certainty is rarely available. By embracing uncertainty, you free yourself from hesitation. You begin to trust your ability to handle whatever comes, rather than trying to predict everything in advance. In practical terms, this mindset can transform how you handle failure. When something doesn't work out, a rigid mindset interprets it as a dead end. An adaptable mindset sees it as feedback. Instead of asking, "Why did I fail?" it asks, "What can I adjust?" This simple shift turns failure into a tool for growth, rather than a reason to quit. Each obstacle becomes information, guiding you toward a better approach. Relationships also benefit from this principle. People are complex and constantly changing. If you approach them with fixed expectations, you're likely to experience conflict and disappointment. Being like water means listening, understanding, and adjusting your communication style. It doesn't mean losing yourself or your values. It means finding the most effective way to connect and interact without unnecessary friction. Another layer of adaptability is learning to let go. Water doesn't cling to where it has been, it keeps moving forward. Holding on to past mistakes, regrets, or outdated beliefs creates mental resistance. It slows you down and keeps you stuck in situations that no longer serve you. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means releasing the emotional weight so you can move freely again. Adaptability also sharpens your creativity. When you're not locked into one way of thinking, you become open to new ideas and perspectives. You start to see possibilities where others see limitations. This is especially important in a rapidly changing world, where the ability to innovate and adjust often determines success. A flexible mind can quickly shift strategies, explore alternatives, and find solutions that rigid thinkers overlook. Pressure is another area where this principle proves its value. When stress builds, rigid minds tend to tighten up, becoming more resistant and less effective. Water responds differently. It absorbs and redistributes pressure. In the same way, an adaptable mind doesn't collapse under stress. It adjusts its pace, changes its approach, and maintains clarity even in difficult situations. This allows you to perform consistently, regardless of external circumstances. Being like water also means knowing when to be still. Movement is not always the answer. Sometimes the most powerful response is patience. Just as water can remain calm and undisturbed, you can choose to pause, reflect, and wait for the right moment to act. This prevents impulsive decisions and allows you to respond with precision rather than haste. Over time, practicing adaptability builds resilience. Each time you adjust instead of resisting, you reinforce the belief that you can handle change. This confidence becomes a foundation for an unbreakable mind. You no longer fear uncertainty or obstacles because you know you can adapt to them. Challenges stop feeling like threats and start feeling like opportunities to grow stronger. Ultimately, being adaptable like water is about mastering the balance between flexibility and strength. It's about staying true to your purpose while remaining open to change. It's about flowing when necessary, pushing when required, and staying calm under pressure. It's not a passive way of living. It's an active, intentional approach to navigating life with clarity, control, and resilience.